Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the book club. Today, we're joined by author Alli Temple. Alli's just published Unbroken, which is the second book in the Pirate and Princess series. Welcome, Alli.
Hi, All Stars. It's Alli Temple. I'm so excited to be back with you again. We're talking today about Unbroken, which is book 2 in my series, The Pirate and Her Princess. Can't wait to dig into it with you.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the setting of the book?
So this is historical fantasy. So the setting does resemble a historical Earth, just with cooler names. And we spend most of our time on the Crimson Siren, which is Captain Cinder's ship. You met it in Uncharted. And yeah, it's a pirate book. Lots of tall ships, lots of adventure, and always a bad guy waiting around every corner.
Where do we find George and Cinder at the start of this book? How much time has elapsed since they got together on Uncharted?
So we do find Cinder and Georgina sailing on the Crimson Siren together. It's been about 6 months since the end of Uncharted, a year and a bit for me and you and the readers, but only 6 months for George and Cinder. Books are magical that way. And yeah, they've been having adventures and getting to know each other again. And but unfortunately, nothing ever stays the same.
What is the main theme of Unbroken, and what trials can we expect George and Cinder to face?
So this book is really about home. It's about what makes a home. Is it a person? Is it a place, a country, an identity? And how does that fit when you're someone like Captain Cinder, who has made an identity for herself, but now is faced with people claiming an identity she thought she'd given up? So what happens when you go home? How are you received? Do people look at you differently based on the life you've led? So lots of exploration around the idea of home and what it means to go home.
How much more research did you need to do for this book compared to Unbroken?
Even less. Is even less an answer? Yeah, these books are so close to my heart that I feel like I know these people, I know these characters. I will look up vocabulary, make sure I've got all of the nautical terms right, especially with Cinder. With George, because she wasn't used to being at sea, it was okay if words sort of got made up to describe, the thing with the stuff and the place over there. But because Cinder has been at sea for that long, it was really important that her vocabulary reflect that. But the joy of fantasy is you get to make up most of the rest. So yeah, not much research.
Do you have a favorite scene in the book? Are there any scenes you enjoyed writing in particular?
I don't actually have one particular favorite scene, but the interactions and the scenes I enjoyed writing the most were definitely the conversations between Cinder and Marrow. You might remember Marrow from the first book from Uncharted. They're the non-binary first mate. And I know a lot of people who read Uncharted actually thought that the primary romance in the series was going to be between Cinder and Marrow. And for me, that had never been the plan. It was always going to be George and Cinder. But I think what people were picking up on is that for Cinder, Marrow has been probably the most important relationship she's had, particularly in her adult life. And so as she's coming to understand who she is, who she wants to be for George, what identity she wants to claim going forward, there's a little bit of tension between her and Marrow in terms of Marrow's representation of her old life. So yeah, those scenes, that tension was really a lot of fun to explore. And while it's never going to be romantic with them, I think they're very close to each other and probably will be for many, many years to come.
Are we going to see any secondary characters from Uncharted and Unbroken? And have you introduced any new secondary characters?
The crew from the Crimson Siren is back. We see more of Ender and Rosie and the Doctor on the ship. And I know a lot of people enjoyed them, so I was more than happy to bring them back. They're great characters. And yeah, we do have one particularly important new secondary character, Whitney. that's all I'm going to tell you. You'll have to read the rest to find out what role Whitney plays in everything.
If George and Cinder took a vacation in the modern world, where do you think they would go, and why would they pick that place?
That's a really good question. I think Cinder, and this is actually something that gets talked about in the book, like I think Cinder would really love to just be a tourist somewhere, maybe sail off to Europe and just wander around Paris or Venice or something like that, and just like take in the sights. She spent a lot of time seeing the world, absolutely, but sort of murder and mayhem, which is not quite the same as being a tourist. So I think she'd really enjoy just like getting to stop in some of these cities, check things out, eat the local food, see the sights, and George would be totally happy to tag along. So yeah, I think they'd love sort of a city by city sightseeing tour.
And finally, just before we finish, do you have a message for your readers?
Absolutely. And it's mostly the same message I give every time I give a talk like this, but it's still just as sincere as it was the first time. Thank you so much for reading this book, for listening to this chat. Uncharted was a big risk for me. It even says so in the dedication of Unbroken. Uncharted was a big risk for me, and lots of people read it, more people than I expected, and lots of people loved it and asked for more books. And I couldn't do this job if people didn't read what I wrote. So thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy the further adventures of Georgina and Cinder and the Crimson Siren, and thanks for listening today.
Thank you for joining us today, Ali. It was great chatting to you. If you want to pick up Unbroken, the order link is in the description below. Don't forget to leave a review for the book if you enjoy reading it. Thank you for joining us today, and chat soon. Bye-bye.